Welcome everyone. Another Thursday for our podcast. Oh my gosh, we've been doing this for years now, every Thursday. But I already decided I will not be here on July the 4th. Everyone gets a day off. We too. I will be traveling on July the 4th. It's a little over a month away, but anyway. Yeah. Shall I introduce myself? Toni Weel. For new people who are listening in, we have with us Sara from Virtuous Unicorns, my beautiful co-host from Ohio, and our guest, that from, why do I keep forgetting that? I know where you are, somewhere in the South.
Central
Alabama.
Alabama. Yeah, Alabama.
Alabama. There we go. Alabama. And I bought my first US car in Alabama. Old junk car, but still. I think it was Birmingham. Birmingham is in Alabama, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, today we decided on talking about detox symptoms. And we once we start changing our diet, there is absolutely no way around it. It doesn't matter if you go slow or fast. And once I was, looking into this again, and I looked at detox symptoms. Should I have called it detox symptoms? Isn't it more a healing crisis? Because that is actually the reason why we're doing this. And when I was looking at more things online about detox, and all I came was like drugs and alcohol, and I was like, well, that's not what we are about. I don't think most of us, we don't drink, we don't use drugs. So there's no detoxing there. But every time that you change your diet, something is happening in your body. And Dr. Morse called it the healing crisis. And I often like to replace the word detox with healing. We are not on a detox journey, we are on a healing journey. And yeah, your body may respond. One of the most well-known and one that comes on the easiest is actually cold and flu-like symptoms. And we have a list from Dr. Morse that actually has mild cleansing effects and moderate cleansing effects and strong cleansing effects. And that was so nice to just send it to me, because I actually forgot about this one and realized I didn't even put it in the ebook, where I gathered 231 pages of information. So it definitely will go in there. And but with healing crisis, detox symptoms, we can get all the things that we are like, a little alerted, they are a little uncomfortable, but all, and I just see one that pops out, a minor blurred vision. A lot of things are happening in your body when you start changing your diet. And to be honest, it's not only when you change your diet from, a standard diet to fruit. It's like every time that you change your diet, things are happening in your body. I'm sure you want to add to this, that. So please do go ahead.
Oh yeah, I enjoy this topic as well, because it really just comes back down to basic chemistry and again cause and effect, and there's so many different ways of calling things in our English language, and then it gets even more complicated when we have, the different languages that come in and they're trying to, translate and understand, our language. And I've always, liked to say healing challenges myself, or healing symptoms, because crisis, it just kind of, it is not really, I don't know, I don't want to scare people, I guess, when I explain these symptoms of cause and effect to people, because sometimes it makes people think, oh, well, that's too hard for me. That's too challenging. I'm not up for the challenge, because I have enough complications in my life, because truly the detox protocols and the detox programs that we talk about, they're not for the faint at heart because they're a transformational process, and true growth is challenging, but it's supposed to be that way on purpose, because, as they say, we've always heard all these sayings in the world, growing up and going through our lives, and we never give them a lot of thought, but they're always out there. We even hear them when we're young kids, and we always hear no pain, no gain, because that's just part of life. That's the cycles of life, that we have to go through these, very challenging situations to be able to grow as individuals. And it's sometimes I kind of think of it as you have to earn it to be able to have the reward. You can't just have things so freely given to you in this world these days, and and before I can start with talking about the different levels of healing crisis, and before we get into it, or healing challenges, I wanted to plug the Dr. Morris official Telegram group. We talk on there a good bit, and Tony's on there talking with us some as well, and the reason why I wanted to mention that, and for anyone that has a smartphone that's listening, you ought to join us and come over there and talk with us, especially if you have any questions for the official community of Dr. Morris. But and for those that don't know, Telegram is an app that you can get on your smartphones,
It
But
also works on a laptop. I have it on my laptop.
yeah, yeah, it does. I'm not sure if it works on Android or not, but I imagine it does. You know,
Yeah, it does.
yeah, okay. And but the reason why I brought it up is that we have people all the time in the groups that they all the time they start to tell us about how they go on these different detoxes and these different cleanses, and they start to have major reactions to the cleanse. And like I'll give you a perfect example. I had a lady, she just asked us yesterday. She said, oh, I've been 3 days on grapes only, and I'm having major symptoms. And can I drink water with it? And she literally thought that she's supposed to only eat grapes and not drink any fluids at all. And I said, of course, drink you some water, get you some good quality water. And she asked specifically if she could drink lemon juice with her water. And I said, yes, of course. That's not going to hurt anything. That will be a good thing. Just get the best quality water you can, of course. And I explained to her how, of course, we talk a lot in our communities about how you need less, water as you get more hydrated as you go in your lifestyle, and how, we can get a lot of that hydration from just our fruits and vegetables. But remember, water is so important in our early stages because it's a dilution or a solvent to break up the waste, And but she was talking and everything, and I asked her, I said, well, what was your diet like and what were you doing before you started the 3 day cleanse? And she said, oh, I wasn't eating, completely standard American foods or standard Western foods, but I was still eating lots of heavy, cooked foods and things like that. And I was explaining to her how, transition is such an important part of the process of the art of detoxification, because it helps. It's kind of like, imagine if someone just threw you into the swimming pool and said, okay, now there you go, start to swim. Well, that's kind of how it is going straight from cooked heavy foods, even cooked heavy plant foods, to just straight grapes for nothing but 3 days. And then she was actually wanting to go for even longer, for 30 days, because she may have already started having some, strong detox symptoms within 3 days, but it's going to increase even more, even after 7 days, because she didn't have a clean enough preparation for her body. And I explained to her, I said, the way to do it more easier and to have less of a shock to your system is to go all raw, on all raw fruits and vegetables for at least a month before you do the 3 day cleanse, or a longer cleanse, because it's just more aggressive on your body when you don't have that proper preparation. And it's the same thing we see with parents that are good parents to their children. They'll if the child wants to learn how to ride a bicycle, they put training wheels on them. If they want to get in the swimming pool, they put floaties on them, or they let them use a float for a little while. And that helps keep it less traumatic. It helps them to ease into it better. And that's what happens to a lot of people too. They get so ready to detox, they just want to jump in the water because they're frustrated or they don't feel good or they're just ready to get to it, and then they have such strong reactions and they feel even worse than they did before, and they don't understand about the whole process, and so then they get scared and then they say, oh, I tried that and it didn't work for me. It just made my stuff worse, and so I got scared and I just stopped doing that. And it's because people don't understand, how a lot of the education in our society has been skewed, has been misinterpreted. Like, for example, and here's how we'll get into it, and then of course, Toni and Sara can add to it, as they like. Um, the most basic levels of a healing response from your body is the common cold, like cold and flu-like symptoms, low-grade fevers, coughing with or without mucus discharge, minor aches and pains. Those are even a sore throat. All those are the most basic common symptoms of the first sign of detox. And a lot of people say, well, so you're telling me all the common cold all this time is that's just my body forcing me to detox, even if I'm not eating healthy, right? Like what normal people get, on a regular basis. And I would say yes. And that's what I say to people all the time in my parents' health food store is that the reason why you keep getting a cold every winter time is because you're not doing enough detoxing or you're not doing any detoxing. So your body's forcing you to do it because that's the body's way of trying to maintain when the waste starts to build up, really bad in the human body, and starts to get to those subacute to chronic levels of congestion. Is it's trying to kind of save your life or save your body's health as much as it can. And it's just in our society, we've turned something that's a good process the body goes through into something that we should avoid, something we should always talk about. Because I imagine Toni's heard this a lot over the years, but I especially have heard this a lot over the last, 15 to 17 years being a part of my parents' health food store. We have people all the time that come in and they say braggingly, I hadn't been sick in 5 years. I'm pretty healthy. I'm doing pretty good. And I'm like, oh, that's not actually good. You should get sick on purpose every single year. And they would look at me like, what? What are you talking about? And then I explained to them that, sickness really is the body's method of cleansing. It's detox, it's detoxification. And like Toni mentioned in her opening, it's when we look on the general information, especially coming from your medical side of things, they think that, oh, just detox is just detoxing from drugs and different things you've been exposed to. They don't think about it as detoxing from a general buildup of waste in your eliminative channels of the body. And that's going back to just common cause and effect. If you eat something that's congestive, you may not have any problems from it for a while because the body's very resilient, very uh, able to put up with a lot of abuse for some people, especially those that have stronger genetics. But then eventually it's gonna come to a head because body can only take so much. And so that's why we start to have these signs, just like a car, giving you lights on the dashboard, letting you know what's going on in the vehicle. It's the same way in our bodies, because our bodies are the vehicle for our soul to experience life on this planet, or our spacesuit, whatever you want to call it. And so there's many different types of symptoms, and I'm going to go over just a few in the different stages and show how they will progress as you get deeper into detox or as the individual has more chronic health challenges, because the more chronic the cases are, sometimes the more stronger their detox symptoms can be, uh, the first form of detox symptoms or challenges are the mild, what Dr. Morse calls the mild, and then it goes moderate, and then it goes strong. And the mild is just what it basically is, like rashes and itching, low loss of energy. Your energy levels may go up and down, mucus in urine and stools, minor aches and pains, mucus from your eyes, mild headaches, minor blurred vision, even vertigo. And you can have some weight loss and chills, and you'll have emotional unbalances, like feelings can rise up, such as mild crying, anger, even laughter, just because you're stirring up your nervous system. You're releasing those old stored negative emotions and toxins that are all mixed together, so it's all going to come out because, yes, emotions can be toxic buildup in the body, just like chemical toxins, environmental toxins. They're all the same. But see, again, people don't think about how emotions can become toxic buildup in the body. They understand the effect of emotions on our body and how we feel that in real time, from different situations, like getting in a disagreement or a fight with a family member or loved one, and how that can affect us in the moment. But we don't think about how that can affect us down the road because of how we hold on to those emotions and negative experiences, and we're not able to fully let them go and detox them out. And they especially get trapped in different organs and glands in different areas of the body, like we've talked about before. And then he goes to kind of the moderate ones where things start to get more, stronger. You'll have more chronic fatigue. You could even have nosebleeds. You could even have moderate to shortness of breath, like asthma and COPD and emphysema. You could have your temporary increase in tumors and growths in the body, sores appearing on the skin, oozing of different types of substances from your skin, bruising, heavy discharge from the eyes and ears. You could have vomiting, diarrhea, dizziness. Even your teeth could get loose on you for a little while. Dr. Morse has even talked about this before, where people would freak out and they would be worried, and they'd go to the dentist, and the dentist, they would start to pull some of them, and then Dr. Morse would say, "No, please don't," because then as the body starts to heal, then the gums will the teeth will come back stronger, and that's what happened with this one lady he was talking about in his videos. And then you can have stronger emotional releasing. You can have heavy thoughts or lack of clarity. You can have even areas of your skin where it can split open, where more heavier toxins can come out, like psoriasis and dermatitis. And there's been cases where people had such serious psoriasis where they started oozing out lots of mucus and pus from their skin, and that happens. And then you get into the strong cleansing effects, where you can have temporary paralysis of the body, where you go temporary paralyzed in certain areas of the body, and that's just the nervous system, having those different fluctuations. Black mucus discharge from the lungs, heavy brown discharge or blood in the urine or associated kidney pain, a heavy black discharge from the bowels or diarrhea, tumors popping out all over the body, loss of sight, loss of hearing, temporary, of course, severe dizziness or vertigo, severe fatigue, abscesses developing in the mouth, loss of fingernails or toenails. We've talked about that many times, especially sometimes women more than even men, because women have a tendency to paint their fingernails so much. And also loss of hair, it can be even severe, but we have to remember the fingernails and the hair, that's more of again, a cleansing reaction where the body's trying to get rid of the inferior tissue to make room for the better, healthier tissue, that can come later. And so it's very common that can happen, that we can lose our hair and our nails, because as a general in society, we have a tendency to put a lot of chemicals in from our beauty care products and our beauty techniques and practices in those areas, so that makes sense where, those areas are damaged from that practice. And so then when you start to do things to help the body to become stronger in its a regeneration capabilities, then the body starts to shed that in because it has to make room for the better, tissue to come back, and then it's shortness of breath. It can be severe at sometimes. People even have to use an antispasmodic formula or an inhaler. Temporary deep depression released through crying, anger, laughter, mental confusion, teeth coming loose, major, like even more than they were before. And then old suppressed symptoms, like even old poison ivy that could be from the past, that can come back. And you may say, well, Thad, why would something like that come back that was gone after, for so long? Is that's just because the body has a tendency to sometimes not fully get things eliminated or repaired that we have that happen in our lives. And then when you start to get to those deeper layers of releasing trash from the body starts to heal and repair things that it didn't properly heal right in the first time when it happened. And that's also what Dr. Morse talks about with iridology. You can see where people have weaknesses, like say someone had a strong weakness in their leg or their kneecap because they had an injury there before, and you can see it in the iris of the eye. And you can say, well, in your healing journey you might have some aches and pains in that area as you go through detox. And that's because, again, the body kind of it heals in reverse, as they say. It goes through the easiest to clean up symptoms and congestion that has been most recently deposited to there within the last days, weeks, months. And then it starts to get back to the stuff you did from years ago, and decades ago and stuff, and so on and so on. If you don't have too much incoming waste coming into the body while your body's trying to get rid of the old waste and congestion. And see, that's a really big one for people to understand, that it's hard for people to understand is that, and it's hard for people to sometimes go long enough with eating a really clean diet or clean protocol so that their body can have enough time to get back to the old waste, especially even old waste from their childhood. Is that you'll have people, they'll do a detox for a month or two, and then they'll think, oh, I had great progress. Now I can celebrate. And we always think, I want to celebrate with something heavy, something congesting, something polluting to the body, because that's just the way our culture is. And trust me, I understand. I totally understand, how we can have a tendency to use food like drugs and want to celebrate, but we don't realize that sometimes I'm not going to go as far as to say that you undid a lot of the progress that you made in those 3 months, but I can say that, you repolluted your body back with some waste that you might have to later then go back through the process to clean up again, and but that's just the process of life too, is that we're going to go through ebb and flows where we can't be perfect. We can't imagine and put that on ourselves either. We just have to understand cause and effect again, is that if you plan on celebrating and having fun with something like that, then just eat a small portion of it. Don't go crazy, and don't eat it more than just a one time, 1 or 2 time occasions. Don't get stuck on it. And because, and especially if it's something really congesting, of course, but and the one of the biggest things that people will do is they'll go back to eating like greasy foods, like foods that are oily or greasy, and those just leave behind so much residue in the body. And I've been reading a lot of stuff, and I'll say this part, and I'm gonna give it back to Toni and Sara if they want to add to it, is that I've been reading lots of stuff about how some of the most harmful and some of the most problematic substances in the standard Western diet these days are your refined cooking oils that are made from like seeds and nuts and like even grape seed can be problematic because it goes rancid so easy. But safflower, sunflower, grape seed, of course, rape seed, which is your canola oils, even olive oil, because a lot of your olive oils are not, 100% olive oil. But any of those kind of oils, they're high in omega-6, and they're going to cause massive inflammation in the body. But they also leave behind massive amounts of pollution in the body. And that goes for any kind of oil. Really, from all the years of my experimentation about it, the only time that you should ever use technically an oil is where Dr. Morse has talked before about there is a couple therapeutic, what you call, I guess it would be kind of what you call a medicinal therapeutic type of oil. And he's mentioned it before in his book. It's called borage oil and evening primrose oil. And those are two more, they're kind of like a therapeutic oil, but they're not, we really wouldn't think of taking them as in a food or like a salad dressing, or we wouldn't really think of, eating them in a normal manner. It's more of like a medicinal thing. But those are just for certain special situations and cases. Generally speaking, we really shouldn't use oils at all. We should eat the solid food that the oil come from, but not the oil itself. But that's a whole nother subject. But I just wanted to mention that because, if people can avoid those really heavily congesting substances when they break their detox or their cleanse, then they're able to maintain much better that hard work that they work to get to that cleaner state. And then when they go back to eating, more normal foods, their body doesn't get as heavily congested as quickly again. And then when they take a break and then they're ready to do a detox again, they can get back to those deeper levels much easier and much sooner than if they had have eaten more, congestive foods for longer after they broke their detox. And so I just wanted to throw that into the conversation, explaining that, because that's why you see lots of people that they'll get frustrated with the detox process, and they'll feel like they're not having as much progress because they're kind of they're teeter-tottering. They'll have some progress, and then they'll fall off the wagon. They'll go back to some congestive foods, and then they'll kind of come back some almost to where they were before they started detoxing, but not quite. And then they'll detox again, and they may get just a little bit lower or a little bit more clean than they did the first round. And then they'll go back, and they'll keep ebbing and flowing. And I know that's part of the process for so many of us. We have to do that, but I'm just trying to explain to those, to be informative, to help them to understand that, the more hard work you put into it, the more progress you get. The more disciplined you are, the more progress you'll get. But sometimes it takes being diligent and patient, and understand that some of our bodies have been congested for so many decades that it's not going to happen overnight. That some people, it can take you up to a couple years of hard work. Now, am I saying you need to do a deep detox constantly for those couple of years? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying you can take some breaks, but just be very disciplined in the foods that you eat when you take that break. That's all I'm gently and kindly suggesting to people. Because the more you're able to do that, then the more, when you start back again after your break, you're able to get to those deeper levels sooner so you can get back to making more progress. It's kind of the same way as working out, or same way as bodybuilding, same way as learning how to play the piano, or any kind of thing that you're learning to be disciplined about so that you can keep getting to those deeper levels, and we hear about it, like especially like the workout routines, like the P90X and all those things that people talked about, how you'll hit a plateau, and that's the same thing in detox, is that you'll hit a plateau eventually, and you'll have to go deeper. And what that means is you will have to up your game on how you're detoxing so that you can get to the deeper levels, and that's what we've talked about many times before in our communities, how you start off first just transitioning to plants, and then you clean up the plant foods that you eat, and then you work up to just raw fruits and vegetables, and then you work up to only fruits, and then you work up to juices, and then you start to maybe, if you're when you're ready, if you're willing and mentally prepared, you may start to do some experimenting with water fasting and maybe small amounts of dry fasting. And that's what people have done in our communities to help their bodies to try to get the waste to break up and to come free so it can start coming out of the eliminative channels that we have. But okay, I'll pass it back to you guys, and thank you for giving me the time to have that little rant.
Tony, I was going to jump in and say something real quick. We kind of talked about that or touched on that last night too on Elena's Telegram channel, where people will kind of look more towards the fats or the fried foods or even the avocados and stuff like that. And it's because the fats actually temporarily make us feel better because they give us kind of like an ibuprofen effect or a Tylenol effect. And I know that we've also talked about that too, Thad. And so yeah, that is. But I can guarantee you only the first couple bites are going to taste good in the first place when you kind of go back to your old food. And
That's right. That's right.
it's like a memory that we've had, and it's this is going to taste so good. This is going to be so good. And that first bite of that pizza is going to be great. But then the next bite's going to be, this tastes weird. This texture's weird. This is greasy. This doesn't feel good. And then it starts becoming like that kind of a process. And it's very weird to tell somebody you're not going to really like this again, but your taste buds will change. They will now wake up. Those Tostitos that I used to eat all the time, I can't even begin to start to eat a regular Tostito now because it's covered in salt and it makes me sick. Um, yeah, so I mean, it's just amazing how smart our bodies are when we start putting in what they really truly need. And detox does suck, and that's one of the things I had said before, that it's always best to start out like, say you think you feel good, you think, oh, I only have a headache maybe once a month or something. You know what, start that journey now, and it's not going to be that hard of a fight for you, is the other part of it too. And you're not going to have to be just, well, I'm sorry, we're at the point where you're going to have to be on all grapes, you're fighting for your life at this point. So start now, that way you can start slow, you can transition into it slowly and be more gentle, and maybe not have as such bad of detox symptoms as well too. When my husband first did his very first one, he dove head first into it, and boy was he sick. I mean, it was almost like 2 weeks he was sick. And he was getting the opportunity to purge all that stuff out of his body, but he wasn't ready for it. It kind of scared him. And so the second time around, it was completely on him when he wanted to start and how he wanted to start. And he's been slowly easing into it to where now he has a meat day or something once a week. Or, depending on what we're doing, holidays and stuff, of course, he eats a little bit more. But he also knows too, and he'll say, I feel better when I don't eat this. And I think I want this, but really I don't. And my body really doesn't like it after I eat it. So even
Yeah.
he is seeing the process, and he was always an avid, I love steak. And if you ask him today, he'll still say, I love steak. But then after he eats it, he always regrets it.
Yep. Well, Sarah, something you just said, it brought out a perfect story or analogy from my brain that I want to share with all the listeners, because I think we will all understand the relevance and kind of get what I'm saying, is that what you just talked about in both of those stories is the matrix analogy of how the man was willing to trade to be a traitor to his friends and stab them in the back just so he could go back to that fantasy world, even though he knew it was fake, because he couldn't stand to accept the reality that the real world was so fake. And it was so real that it was such a drag compared to that fantasy. And that's the same thing that we can kind of look at when we eat certain foods that our bodies were never designed to consume in the first place. We're just eating it for the emotional stimulation, and we're emotionally eating. And when we can understand that, we can understand why we get so hung up on those foods when we know deep down inside they're not really the best for us. and our bodies really don't feel good when we choose to eat those substances. And why do we always love the fatty, greasy things and the foods that have stimulants in them, like animal products? Again, they have stimulants in them. It's because they're a drug, and the fats suppress the emotions and suppress the feelings that are coming more enhanced, that are coming more sensitive, that are coming more expressed. And see, I have something I've talked about with people for years now, is that I kind of feel like that when you start to detox and you start to cleanse, you start to come back to, or you start to become more of what a true human is supposed to experience on this earth. Is you're supposed to have a higher sense of sensitivity, a higher sense of awareness, a higher sense of smell, a higher sense of taste, a higher sense of emotional instability at times, where you'll have extreme happiness and joy and extreme sadness and anger and fear. And a lot of people are very scared when they start to experience that, when they get into the deeper detoxes, because they've never felt those levels of sensitivity, because they never cleaned up their diet enough, because they were always eating the standard foods since they were young kids. And if you've always been used to eating foods that suppress those emotions and those states of being from coming to the surface, then you really don't know what it's like to live as a human in that way. And, and we hear it all the time, especially when people go on all fruit and they try to do only fruit. And I mean, only fruit, they start to say, "Well, I could only do it for 3 months, and then I got so sensitive, I couldn't even tolerate just talking to my family or talking to my friends or going to my work, or because I felt like, you know, everything, I could smell everything stronger, and it just got to be so overwhelming." That's because they didn't realize that they were really shedding those things that were holding them back from really being their true human selves, and they didn't understand. It's kind of like the young kid that he wakes up and he realizes that life is really different than the way his parents have been sheltering them all their lives from the realities of the way the real world is. And that's just, what sometimes people have to experience gradually, like we're talking about, because you can't have it slapped on you at all at once, because then it scares people so bad, because they're so shocked to know that that's really the way, things are supposed to be, and that what they've lived all their life has really just been a mask or a cover up or a falsity or a lie, whatever you want to call it. And one more story, and then I'll have you guys talk again, because I'm enjoying the conversation. Is this lady, her son, he was talking to me and working with me some, and he was doing lots of cleansing and detoxing. And of course, he talked to his mom, and his mom was open to these things and open to trying them. And he had been talking so much about how we need to eat fruits, and how we only need to eat fruits for a little period of time to help our bodies to detox. And so she agreed that she wanted to try it. And so she went to eating nothing but fruits. And she only ate them for, like he said, I think 3 or 4 days. And he said she was in such major pain. She was on the floor, crying and in extreme discomfort. And he said it's because, Thad, she went from not eating any fruits at all for 5 years to eating only fruits for 3 days. And he said that that's the reason why she had that experience. And he said that, she wanted to do it so bad that I guess he just let her do it, because he didn't really understand what was going to happen. But see, she had waited till she got, see, and that's also what makes it so challenging for some people, is that they wait until they get older to experiment with these things. Well, then it's harder on the body to make those adjustments, because your body's gotten so used to the way you've been living for all those decades. So the older you wait, sometimes the more gentle you have to go with your approach because your body's not as resilient, easy to adjust, and especially to make those strong adjustments so quickly, as when you were younger, and also things haven't built up as much yet in when you're younger, so that's why you don't want to be 60 or 70 and then just decide to totally change things overnight or even within just a couple of few days, unless only exception to this rule that we're talking about is if you have a life-threatening situation and you really just have to bear those tough challenges because it's a matter of life or death, and you that's all you have that you can do in that situation, but generally speaking, for most people, that especially for non-life threatening situations, it's better for us to take it more gradual and to transition into things easier because that's easier for us to maintain, easier for us to make it an enjoyable process as much as possible, and celebrate your detox victories, celebrate those aches and pains, celebrate those detox symptoms you're experiencing, celebrate seeing the trash coming out of your body because those are all signs that it's working, that you're actually seeing progress. But yeah, go ahead. And Toni, you have anything to add today?
Oh yeah, I do.
Go ahead. Well, y'all talk some. I've done enough talking.
We just listen and learn. Yeah, when you look at all these in the ones that you mentioned, the mild, moderate, and strong cleansing effects, it's like those are also the symptoms of the diseases that you accumulate over the years, and they just
That's
getting
right.
worse and worse and worse. And I remember I was only, my daughter was 3, so I was 21, 22, that after a lot of stress, extreme stress, and in my marriage, and I went to my sister, ate all the things I normally did not eat, including the meats and whipped cream, milk, sugar, which I never did, alcohol, which I never used. And what was the results a few weeks later? Paralysis from the neck down. It was unbelievable. And I was already smart enough to connect it to the foods and the stress. And it never happened again. It took 2 weeks before it got better. And then I got back in the same stress, not the foods, but the stress. And I was back in the hospital with the same symptoms until it really hit me. And 2 weeks later I walked out of the hospital, was told by them I never needed to come back with the same problem because I wasn't listening anyway, and I refused all their pharmaceuticals. And to be honest, I am so proud of myself that even at such a young age compared to the age I am now, that I already knew the pharmaceuticals were not going to help me and I was not going to be their guinea pig. So, but when you look at that can be a strong cleansing effect, it could happen again. And but what you said, celebrate them. Yes, I absolutely learned how to embrace my and so far they were actually, well, mild to moderate symptoms that I personally had. Now, there is one thing that is really important to know because, it's like what you said, if you call it level of healing crisis, then it's already, people take a step back. It's like, I don't want that. But when you change it to, levels of healing challenges, because there are always challenges in life, in with your health too. But I want to read a part of this document, and anyone who wants this document, just let me know and I email it to you. It says cleansing cycles can last 1 hour, 1 day, 3 days, 1 week, or even up to 3 weeks. It depends on the level of toxicity in an individual. These are all great signs that your body is responding and cleaning out the toxicity and also rebuilding the weakened areas. During the cleansing and healing process, old symptoms of past diseases or weaknesses may return and then disappear as the body heals that particular area. These are all toxic problems that were originally suppressed, and now the body has worked its way into these areas to rebuild and restore normal tissue function. You may also feel areas of weaknesses that you never knew you had. Don't panic, just relax and let your body continue its journey into vibrant health. Disease is nothing more than a toxic, over acid inflamed body. Alkalization of the body is the key to removing the inflammation as well as the stored acids and toxins. True detoxification requires alkalizations, which leads to cellular regeneration. The diet programs found on Dr. Morse's website are high alkalizers and energizers of the tissues, organs, and glands of your body. Try eating 80% raw, uncooked foods to 20% cooked. If you can eat 100% raw fruits and vegetables, your body's response will be unbelievable. Try it. And that unbelievable will be eventually in a positive way. But unfortunately, we are so, well, you can call it brainwashed, that we want a magic pill. And we talked about it on, that was actually a 3-hour live that we did last night on Elena's Telegram channel. And we touched on many things. And one of the things that where I see so many people wanting to take a shortcut, and that is eating the minerals from soil. What is it? Fulvic acid, and there was another one. These are plant foods, but they put it in a pill form, and now people eat it and say, "Oh, they are so great for detoxing, and I feel so much better." And I'm like, there is no shortcut for your health. There isn't. You cannot put something in your body that is not meant to be there. You can have the positive effects of those minerals when you eat the plant that grows on it. So, but don't take the shortcuts and don't expect there is a magic pill. And yes, it takes time. And what worries me, and I've been touching on this many, many times, is all these detox programs you see everywhere. Even if you go into the grocery store and you go into the health sections, they have detox programs. There is a powder or there are pills and I'm sure you know about that with the health food store. And I find them, 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, and people are not prepared. They don't know. They don't know how to prepare. They don't know that your body can get in total shock, as what you mentioned with that one person, who just started from a standard diet into 3 days of grapes only. And it is like, it's everywhere. You see these detox programs everywhere, and even even done by the health gurus, the well-known health gurus, and even for what is it? Water fasting, dry fasting, and it's like that is not the way to get there. It is, love your body, be nice, and don't excuse me. Don't just jump into it and expect that after a 30-day detox you're good to go and you can eat anything that you want again, only to get even sicker from it than ever before. It is it's a lifelong change. Am I saying that for the rest of your life to have to eat only fruits? No. That's why we have, all these beautiful lists with mucusless foods, with list of which vegetables are mucus. Well, actually, the vegetables are not so much mucus forming. Cooked food can be, but that's why we have this mucusless list. And Professor Spira is really big on this. Follow him. He's on Facebook. He has a ton of great information. I put together the mucusless foods list. It's on mucuslessfoods.com. and it shows you what to eat during a detox. But more important is the section where it shows all the foods that you can eat during transition. And do you need to go on those foods, from one day to the other? No, 1 week, leave out, the meat. 1, 2, 3 weeks later, no more eggs, and so on. But then realize you're doing this for health for the rest of your life, not to feel good right now, instantly. It is a change, and you deserve that. You deserve that health. You deserve to be happy and feel good about yourself. That is another thing. And I know we have our struggles with sticking to a diet. I saw a post this morning about someone who has been on it for 6 years, and he knows he does great on high fruit, but every time he falls back. I mean, that's almost kind of an emotional attachment to certain foods. And there's actually I have the book here right in front of me. It's called Easy Way to Quit Emotional Eating by Ellen Kars. And he has very interesting topics to overcome this. Anyway, yeah, if you want to add anything, Ted or Sarah, please do go ahead. Oh, I saw a question. Hold on. Have you ever heard about mimosa pedicap seeds for parasite cleansing? Isn't that coming from the group that has well, they kind of went beyond the master fast and have these puddings or something they add to it? I'm not sure. I have heard about it, but I wouldn't be able to really go into what it is and if we should. I feel there are easy ways to for the parasite. We got a question yesterday. It was if you grind a papaya with its seeds and then eat that for 3 days, that should get rid of the parasites. I've never tried it. I don't know anybody who did, but that was another suggestion that was made. I'll keep it on the safe side. I'll just stick with Dr. Morse's parasite cleanse, the one for general parasites and the one for microorganisms.
Yeah, that's I agree. I was just looking it up. Mimosa Pedusia, Pedusia. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's just just another herb that's out there in the world. That's all that it is and that I found it has, of course, many different names to it. So um there's many different, herbs and different things that we can use that can help, of course, to detox the body. We always talk about that. So there's definitely different plants that are out there that are great for parasite cleansing. The main ones that have been the most popular and common throughout the world, are your black walnut and your wormwood and your pau d'arco. And then also cloves, and then also let's see, what's another one? Even oregano. Oregano can be yeast or great yeast and cleanse, and a great even it can help with viruses. And then also olive leaf extract. That's real good for yeast and bacterial overgrowth. So there's many different types of great herbs for those things. But yes, us talking about this subject, I think what it goes back to as well is that, so many of these such life-changing topics and subjects that we talk about, they're things that have purposely not been taught to us when we're younger, to help us to learn about these things so that we can, grow into these habits and these practices that we should take. See, really, this is something that should be taught to us in school so that we should know how to be able to practice, detox and cleansing and understanding all this from a young age. We shouldn't have to try to, figure it out later in life and then feel overwhelmed because we have all these other responsibilities and all these other things that we have to do, and we can't take the time to really invest in our health and invest in doing these things. And it's only those of us that really understand the importance and really have a strong desire to have the best quality of life that we can have, on this planet, that want to make it a big enough thing to incorporate it into our diet and our lifestyles and our ways of living as much as possible, determining on how much time and how much ability and how much resources you have to put into it, because we have that strong desire to want that to be a part of our lives. And see, that's what it takes. It takes that strong willingness, that strong desire, that strong efforts to be able to put high enough priority onto dedicating, that part of that practice into our lives, so that we can see those types of results that we get from living that lifestyle. Because the one thing that people need to understand, that is another universal law that we can never get around, is that things have a tendency to compound. Okay, what you do today will compound on what you do tomorrow or the next now, and things will start to compound, whether it be things that are of negative energy and acidic, to the body and to the soul and to the spirit and to the emotions, to the mind, to all the parts of who we or are the things positively going to compound and to start to help our DNA to become stronger and to become, better enhanced or better expressed in new ways that it wasn't before. But see, we have to understand that it goes back to that whole thing we keep talking about. What you put into it is what you get back. But what you put into it negatively, you're going to get back even more negatively, because again, that's the way things work, is that what you put out into the world, whatever action you do, whatever thought, whatever speaking, whatever action you do, it's going to compound. It's going to come back to you stronger than the way you put it out, and because it's going to add up, it's going to keep multiplying and growing and adding up. And so that's why the more you invest, in what you practice and what you do, the more you're going to see results from that behavior over time. That's why, there's so many things that people do that aren't really healthy for them, that they'll never see any problems from for the first maybe few months, few years, few decades, until finally it compounds so bad that then they're like, oh, well, I guess it finally caught up with me. You hear those things that people say, even like smoking cigarettes or drinking alcohol, even just an occasional drinker or an occasional smoker, someone that doesn't smoke heavily or smoke all the time, it can still catch up with us over time because you weren't doing enough things to help it to be eliminated, and you just kept accumulating, and that's a perfect analogy that I guess I can close on today too, is that Dr. Morse told this story, and I know Tony's probably heard this story too, and this is a good little short story to share with everyone so they can understand, is that they told the story of how this lab, they took a pig's heart, I think it was, and they kept it alive, separate from the pig's body for like years. I think it was even decades that they kept it alive. And he said what they had to do to it to keep it alive is they had to give it nutrients to keep it pumping, blood and I guess the things it needed to keep it pumping and circulating. But they had to always clean it. They had to keep cleaning out the accumulation of waste from that, process of pumping and cycling, those things through the heart. And he said that for some reason, after the a time had went by that they had been taking care of it and it was working, the way it was supposed to work, he said someone forgot to clean it, over the weekend or something like that. And they came in at the start of the next week or whatever, the period of time that had passed, and it had stopped working. It had died, I guess. And he was explaining it was all because they failed to clean it. And that's a perfect analogy that so many times we don't realize that about life's analogy is that that's why we need to understand it's really more important how well you eliminate the waste that builds up in your body instead of always focusing on what you accumulate or consume. Because we're such consumers in this world, and we never think about taking a break and eliminating more than we consume, or trying to meet ourselves in the middle and saying, okay, well, logically speaking, if it comes in, it has to come back out. So I have to give my body a chance to be able to eliminate it. I can't be consuming so aggressively that then that takes away all the energy that your body has to go into other processes. And that's the thing where detox comes into play so beautifully is that when you take a break from always digesting and consuming those heavy substances, then your body can go into other processes that your body naturally knows how to do. That's why we always talk about in our community. The herbs, the food, those are only tools. The body itself knows how to do the healing. We just have to sometimes get out of its way. And what do we mean by that? Is stop doing the things that's keeping it from being able to detox and cleanse. That's why fasting, is so important because what is the main principle of fasting? Withholding or withstaining from consuming. That's the whole principle. Even the old cultures going back thousands and thousands of years, they would withstand from eating certain foods. Even the Israelites and all those people, they would have a certain time of the year where they would not consume yeast or leaven. And that's why they call it the unleavened bread. And they talked about those things, and they would always do fasting once a year, and they would always do it in the spring, and that's always the first of the year in a lot of your old calendars. Is it really the spring is the first of the year, and that's another whole nother topic we can get into, but I'm just giving the analogy that if we put enough focus and understanding in the process of elimination, then we can have a better quality of life. It's just we're never taught these things. And so then when you start to bring these things up to people, it's like such a foreign ideal that a lot of people they disregard it. They don't put any emphasis on its importance because they think if it was so important, I would have been taught this when I was younger. But you were purposely not taught that because if you know how to detox and take care of your body, you take away the need for the doctor in so many cases of illness in this world. And that's what they don't want you to do. They want you to rely on them. They want you to be ignorant to these ways of being your own doctor and being able to take care of yourself. And so see, that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to help bring awareness to people that once you know how to take care of yourself the right way and you practice and live that lifestyle, the longer you're able to practice and live that lifestyle, then the better results you're going to see long term. And then you're going to especially enjoy your quality of older years, your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. You're going to enjoy that stage of your life so much more than if you had a never went on that path. And I know Toni, she's a living testimonial to that all the time. She always talks about that how much better she feels today choosing that compared to what she was doing before. And there's so many people that talk about that in our communities. And so that's what we really need to look at is that remember, guys, it's not so much what happens to us in life, it's how we react to what happens to us in life. And so we have to understand how to process and handle these things that happen to us in a way that's best for our life's experience and our body's experience and our mental and emotional states and all these things, so that's why I guess I get so much of passion and enjoyment out of sharing with people is that I want to encourage you to do something about it for yourself because I'm just a messenger. I can't do it for you. You have to be motivated and inspired to do it for yourself. and to get excited about it and so passionate about it that you want to make it such a very important part of your life. Because how can you truly enjoy anything else you do if you don't have a good quality of health? How can you even enjoy a bunch of money that you have if you don't have good health? The only thing more important than the way you take care of yourself and your health is the way you spend your time, because time is so limited, and you'll never get back the time that you spend, and like today, once your time you spent today is over, you're never going to get that back, and so you're able to enjoy your time that you have. The better you take care of yourself, so make that a high priority today, and to dive deeper into understanding of these methods and techniques and principles that we always talk about. And try not to be afraid of these things when you choose to live these lifestyles, no matter what people judge you or may say or may respond or may act, towards these things, because they don't understand, or they've been improperly informed or brainwashed on things that are negative, that goes against these principles, because they don't want you to know about this information. They don't want you to follow this information because they know it works too well. They know it's going to help you to have a better mental, emotional, spiritual stabilization and experience in life. And they know it will bring you closer to God or the higher power, whatever you want to call them. And that's another thing they don't like either. I've I've never been able to be as close to God as when I am, focusing on my health and focusing on, clarifying my mind and my emotions and my feelings, and that's another reason why they don't like that. They want you to be stuck on all the drugs and the medications and on the alcohol and on the junky foods, because then you're not going to be able to be focused on the things that are more important in your life. But okay, that's all I wanted to add today. But thank you, Toni, for having us again to talk about these great topics and subjects, and I'll pass it back to you guys.
Yeah, we almost forgot something.
Oh, we did? I'm sorry.
Something really important. The
Okay.
thing was, the healing crisis or the detox symptoms, what to do when you cannot handle them any longer.
Okay. You want to answer it first, or you want me to go ahead?
No, go ahead. I'm curious because I know what we usually suggest. It is like, eat that sweet potato or eat some healthy soup. Healthy soup, I'm thinking not anything out of a can of a package, but some veggies boiled or steamed would even be better. And the next day you pick it back up again. You go back to at the level that you were. And
Well, well,
go
here's
ahead.
here's how I would explain it to people. The easiest I can explain it is, remember, in your journey, try to take things gradual. Don't try to run before you're able to jog. Try to do things gradual for the best experience you can, or for the best uh um for the ease of it, or the most, so it doesn't create discomfort. It makes it easier for you to do that. And what I'm getting at is that same thing as how we talk so much about proper preparation for a deeper detox, proper transition for a proper detox, because that makes it easier when you start to detox. It's the same thing as when you decide to want to break the detox or to slow the detox down. Is it, for example, say you've been juicing for 25 days. You don't go straight to cooked foods, even steamed vegetables, right after drinking juices for 20 days. You go back to eating solid fruits first, and then you go back to eating solid fruits and vegetables. And then you go back to maybe some lightly steamed vegetables if you wanted, to slow it down even more. And that's because you don't even, going straight from juices to some steamed vegetables may be too much of a shock, or too much of it may bring them out of detox too quickly. because especially if you want to keep going with your detox and you just wanted to slow it down temporarily, because that's what I talked about with people before, and they were saying, well, it depends on what your goals are. It depends on what you really want to do. If you've been detoxing for several months and you want to take a break for a whole month, and you want to try to transition back to just eating just raw fruits and vegetables solid again from those juices, then you want to, for the first week, you want to eat just nothing but fruits. And then after that, then slowly start adding back in the vegetables and the more fibrous fruits and vegetables, and then slowly start eating maybe salads again, with a mixture of different ingredients. And then whenever you're ready to get back into detox, then again go in the reverse direction again, back into detox, where you take away the fibrous and the heavier foods, even the vegetables and the salads and stuff, and you go back to more just fruits, and then you go back into more just juices. So that's kind of the way I explain it to people, because that makes it easier, to transition in like a pyramid or like a ladder. It's the same way. That's how I would answer that question, Toni. Yeah.
Yeah, I see, and that would be the best way. It's actually better to prevent, things from happening that way. But I had these crisis calls that people could not handle it any longer. So you don't have the time to do it slow. Of course, the first idea is to eat, and usually it even happens when people are on all fruits. And so that this is where, and we learned that from Dr. Morse, where that sweet potato or some sweet veggies for once, to add that to that day, and then the next day go back to your fruit. It is only like a temporary solution for when there is a crisis that cannot be handled. But of course, prevention is what always comes first, not to get it to that point, and use the pyramid that we always use from, well, you just explained it, so I don't need to do that again. And then, do it in the reverse. Once you set, you stop with your detox diet.
Well,
So
Toni,
yeah,
one
yeah.
one thing that I could add is that just be cautious. That's all. That I kind of put this warning out there, or a cautious awareness to the fact that because we are all so different, because we all have different genetic strengths and weaknesses, because we all have different health challenges that we're working on, because we all have different levels of how strong and weak our bodies are genetically, nervous system wise, emotionally, mentally, stable wise. We have so many different variables that I want people to understand. Just because what worked for one person may not work for another. I hear people all the time that come in my parents' health food store, since dry fasting and intermittent fasting has become so popular. People will dabble with those deep types of detoxing, when they don't know any better on what they're doing to themselves, and they'll break a type of fast eating the wrong types of foods, which could be bad for some people, and it could even put some people in the hospital with major pains, major digestive pains, major abdominal pains. I mean, not I'll tell you a story, not to try to scare anyone, but I'm just telling you this is what we've heard in our communities over the years. Even Dr. Morse talked about it one or two times in a video, but I haven't been able to find the video again since all of his videos have been removed from YouTube and everything that's been going on. But I remember one time Dr. Morse talked about years ago, that there was this really popular health pioneer. I think, don't quote me on this, but this is just what my mind remembers. His name was McFadden, I think it was. And he supposedly went on a 30 or 40-day water fast, and he broke the water fast eating a potato, a baked potato. And I remember in my mind that he died from it, but he could have just gotten really sick and went to the hospital. But my mind, because I remember this story Dr. Morse told probably it was probably 5 or 6 years ago that he told this story. So I can't verify 100% that what if he severely was in the hospital or if he did actually pass away. But so to a lot of people, when they think, oh man, so you're saying I could possibly die from eating a baked potato after doing a fast for that long? And I'm saying, well, it's possible only because that was such a shock to his system being in the state that it was for all those days. Because when you go that long, you have to be very, very careful what foods you reintroduce into your diet. And I learned that the hard way. I almost put myself in the hospital after doing a 21-day water fast. And I tried after going a week of eating all fruits and juices after I broke the fast. I tried to eat a salad with some raw corn in it. And oh man, that raw corn was so hard for me to digest. And it was, of course, organic corn. It wasn't, I wouldn't have eaten any if it wasn't organic corn. But my point is that because it was so hard to digest, it gave me severe abdominal pains to the point where I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. And I had to force myself to throw it up, and that was such a traumatic experience that I don't wish that on anybody. But it was because I couldn't control myself. The corn tasted so delicious and so good that I overate it, and I overate it with a salad, and it was just too much. My body wasn't ready for that, or, really fibrous, starchy food, and same thing with the potato. The potato is very starchy, very heavy. It's a very heavy food on the system, and so that's why I just explained to people in a warning kind of way is it just be careful of these things that you do that can be quite aggressive on the body and you don't even realize, that they can be that aggressive. So it's kind of just one of those things that, if I can help save some people some of that discomfort, and they don't have to go through that learning experience themselves. I mean, some of us are destined to just have to learn it the hard way, but I'm saying if I can save some people of that just by them listening to my experience, then that's what I'm trying to do. But okay, that's what I wanted to just add.
Yeah, that was Dr. Morse who mentioned that quite often, and the person did die. And I don't know if he was on a water fast. I've done several water fasts, even one as long as 5 weeks. And the most recent one is a little over a year ago, was 23 days, and it was very easy for me. And then I had just some orange juice. And so I started the pyramid going down again. Is go to the juices, and then it's actually to the smoothies, and then to eating fruit again. So it can be done safely, but I think it is important for people to know what can they do, you know, when they feel they cannot handle it. Usually, we talk them through and realize, because sometimes one of all these symptoms that we mentioned, or the effects, or the challenges in mild, moderate, or strong, they come up and they scare people because they don't have enough information. And I think it's our job as detox specialists, or healing or health guides, whatever you want to call us, to make sure that people have all the information that they need, without scaring them away from even starting. Because there's a person in the fans group who was like, she read so many negative things in that group of people who started, and that she is afraid to do it now too. And I'm like, I must have missed those messages because I rarely see it. And when that happens, we go through what did you eat first, and because people, share things and then say I was all fruit, only to find out it was fruit and something. So, but that was more about, the things in the group that people shy away to get started because they don't have the right information. And I might as well discuss this now with you for actually everyone to hear. I am considering setting up a very private group for people who want to be held by the hands and on a 30-day program, for instance. So I'm making sure that they get all the information they need, and we can make that like a private group. I know Lauren does it, and I believe it is a good idea. So, you know, people who are really serious about healing get the information that they need. Anyway, that is something that we can further discuss in private, that Sarah, you know, if you want to
Yeah,
be part of
and
something.
And Tony, one thing I wanted to respond to what you were saying is that I just wanted to tell the listeners and tell people out there that don't have any fear over the what ifs, because we can do that to ourselves all the time, and we've talked about it many times. I know I have many times over the years talking about how powerful the mind is, and I want you to understand that sometimes it takes being so brave that you're willing to face the hardest challenge that you may have to get to the other side, because sometimes that's what it takes. Is it takes you being willing to go to the deepest depths to get to the other side, to have that transformation you need, because at the end of the day you will say it was worth it, that it truly was worth it, because sometimes that's what it takes. You can't be afraid, because there's so many times where people, they let fear stop them from getting to their greatest achievement that they can achieve. And so many times you'll hear it from people. They will get so far into detox that they're about to have an amazing release from their body of toxic waste, but they can't get past that last final hurdle to get to that other side. And sometimes it's emotional blockage. Sometimes it's facing those feelings and fears that from our past that we don't want to face, and so I just wanted to put that out there to people, is that, don't be scared, because, as we say in our spiritual communities, whether you believe in religious things or not, it can be evil spirits, demons, devils. They're trying to hold you back from being able to achieve that, because they don't want to see you become the greatest part of who you are, or the greatest version of yourself that you can become, because they're afraid that what you're going to do and go out there and tell others about, and what testimony you're going to share with others, and so we have to sometimes be fearless when it comes to trying and going about these things, but of course at the same time being safe. I'm not saying throw caution to wind so aggressive, do something that could really, hurt your body by being too aggressive, but I'm saying at the same time, try not to have fear that will keep you from even going on the journey, like what Toni was talking about. But that's all I wanted to add. Toni, go ahead.
And
Yeah,
I was
well,
going to say nothing tastes as good as healthy feels either.
That's
So
right. That's right.
it doesn't. And it is that hurdle, it is that mountain. But once you come over that top of that mountain, I mean, it's almost like there's no looking back. And it is totally worth it. But take your time and let it come out slowly. Don't let it just purge all out at one time if you have the time to do that. And, but definitely nothing tastes as good as feeling healthy feels. But technically, a healthy body you shouldn't feel in the first place. But you all get what I'm trying to say.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Let
okay.
let your feelings of happiness, joy, and peace override the enjoyment of the taste. Because if you let your taste buds control what you eat, it'll always want to eat the unhealthy foods.
Yeah, and we always tend to overeat with the non-healthy food. It doesn't happen with fruit.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's not forget that one. Well, I want to thank everyone for being here. I hope that you got something out of it. If not, absolutely let us know so we can address that the next time. I need to check if there were any questions.
I
I don't.
didn't I didn't see any more.
No.
Yep. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Dad. Thank you so much, Toni. And thank you, everyone in the chat. This has been a very informative show, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Tab, for being here again. And I would say till the next time, no idea what we're going to talk about then. Something will come up. So,
As always.
all right. Have a wonderful week. And till soon again, love to you all. And bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.